Cuba is an island nation of the Caribbean Sea. It lies west of the North Atlantic Ocean, east of the Gulf of Mexico, and south of the Strait of Florida. The lowest point of the country is where the Caribbean Sea is, which surrounds the island in addition to the North Atlantic Sea. As of 2011, Cuba's population had been recorded to be almost 11 million people. In a country so vibrant in its appearance as Cuba is, it has to have a lot of natural resources available. These resources include cobalt, nickel, chromium, copper, salt, timber, and finally, petroleum. Petroleum especially plays a large role in commercial importance. In fact, it has been estimated that Cuba has close to 1 million barrels of oil. They have crude oil, which is another word for petroleum. These fossil fuels are found in geologic formation beneath the Earth's surface. In 2004, Cuba joined a partnership between a Spanish oil company and Cuba's state oil company. In 2008, the Cuban government also announced that it discovered oil basins, which would help almost double its oil reserves. If this were to be accurate, then Cuba would be one of the top reserves in the world, serving well for the Cuban economy. In 2012, an active leasing program for parts of this resource began. No United States companies were participating due to their embargo. However, countries such as Brazil, India, Norway, Russia, Spain, Venezuela, and Vietnam have taken leases. Due to this oil leasing program, the involvement in other countries in Cuba's oil has created strong issues for potential trade and relations with other countries. Currently, Cuba does not have a strong relationship with the U.S. The United States placed a commercial, economic, and financial ban on Cuba in 1960 right after the Batista regime ended, in addition to the failure of the Bay of Pigs invasion, which the United States supported. The United States does not want to have anything to do with helping the Cuban economy and also does not want their allies getting involved. This is creating controversy.
Thank you for coming up. During my campaign, I asserted that I was going to be firm in my opinion on Cuba, but make any changes that be necessary over time. From history, we can't completely trust Cuba because of events that occurred during the duration of the Cold War. I want to push the Cuban government to embrace democratic reforms and free political prisoners. Since my inauguration, most of my policies remain unchanged from Bush's. Recently, we lifted terms upon travel, and I hope that this will be a useful tool for leverage on pushing the reform in Cuba. Because of these failings, it is difficult to approve of allies, such as Russia partaking in Cuba's oil lease. Russia is potentially jeopardizing their relationship with us because Russia is knowledgeable about our past relations with Cuba.
Since I have taken office due to the illness of my brother Fidel, I've decided that I'm going to support the demand of our land that the United States currently owns and return it back to Cuba, specifically the naval bases. Being an island, our country is dependent upon many outside sources. We struggle economically while making many positive strides. Therefore, this lease is vital to encourage involvement of ally countries. I feel that oil is our best natural resource and we need to take advantage of it. Other nations do not need to follow the embargo that the United States has placed upon us, which is currently 50 years old. Why should an embargo set by one country stop Cuba from improving its economy and providing our nation with resources? I support the countries that have invested in the leasing program thus far, such as Russia. However, Russia's involvement has created controversy with the United States.
In Russia, the largest Russian oil company is the Rubenzev. This is an oil-based company out of Moscow specializing in exploration of oil and gas fields outside of known Russian territory. Cuba's leasing program is the ideal situation for this company's goals. However, the United States has stood in the way. The New York Times recently wrote an article describing exactly what happened this summer between Russia and Cuba. According to the article, a Russian oil company will delay drilling its first exploratory well off the northern coast of Cuba, about 180 miles from Florida. A Russian oil company will delay drilling its first exploratory well off the northern coast of Cuba, about 180 miles from Florida, after apparently struggling to find a drilling rig that would not violate a United States embargo. Altogether, my country, Russia, is having to delay their business because of the U.S. standing in the way.
The United States stands virtually alone in its crusade against Cuba. In fact, at the United Nations General Assembly, the United Nations described that, rather than isolating Cuba, the 52-year-long embargo has resulted in the isolation of the United States. Therefore, the U.S. and Cuba should work together towards mending their relationship as it has become very outdated. In the end, their working together would be good for both countries' environments in addition to their economies. However, these ideals are severely hampered by the embargo. Until the government officials figure out their differences, it is difficult to judge what will come of this situation.